Don't get in the car." The voice cut through the quiet evening air like a knife. Michael Weston stopped dead in his tracks, his hand frozen just inches from the silver door handle of his white sedan. His heart jumped in his chest. The voice was high and scared, a child's voice. Michael spun around fast, his expensive suit jacket flapping in the warm Texas breeze. His eyes searched the empty parking lot behind his office building. Where had that shout come from? And why did it sound so desperate? "Sir, please, don't get in." There, a small figure came running toward him from behind a row of cars. It was a boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old. His dark skin glistened with sweat, and his torn sneakers slapped against the concrete as he ran. The boy's eyes were wide with panic, and he waved his arms frantically above his head. Michael's mind raced. Was this some kind of trick? A setup? In his world of million-dollar deals and corporate battles, he had learned to be careful, very careful. Rich men like him were targets. But this was just a kid. What's wrong? Michael called out, taking a step back from his car. Something in the boy's voice made his stomach twist with worry. What's the matter? The boy skidded to a stop right in front of him, breathing hard. Up close, Michael could see that the child's clothes were old and patched. His T-shirt had holes in it, and his jeans were too big for his skinny frame. But his eyes were sharp and intelligent, and scared. "Your car, mister," the boy gasped, pointing at the white sedan. "There's someone under the hood. If you start the engine." He shook his head quickly. "Bad things will happen. Really bad things." Michael felt his blood turn cold. Someone under the hood? Was there a bomb? His hand started to shake. He pulled out his phone, ready to call the police. But the boy grabbed his arm. No, the boy said quickly. "Not a person. Not like that. It's alive. And little. And scared." "Alive?" Michael stared at the boy, confused. "What do you mean alive?" "I saw it when I was walking by," the boy explained, his words coming out in a rush. "I was looking for bottles to sell, and I heard this tiny sound. Like crying, but not people crying. Animal crying." Michael's fear began to change into curiosity. "An animal?" The boy nodded hard. "I think it crawled up there to get warm. Cars are warm underneath, especially after driving. But if you start the engine," he made a slashing motion across his throat, "it'll die for sure." Michael looked at his car with new eyes. He had driven it to work that morning, just like every other day for the past 3 years. The engine would still be a little warm from his drive back from lunch. If there really was a small animal hiding in there. "Show me," Michael said quietly. The boy's face lit up with relief. "You believe me?" "I believe you," Michael said, and he meant it. There was something about this kid, something honest and real that Michael hadn't felt in a long time. In his world of business meetings and fancy restaurants, people lied all the time. They said things they didn't mean. They made promises they wouldn't keep. But this boy was different. They walked to the front of the car together. Michael noticed how the boy moved carefully, like he was used to being quiet and invisible, like he was used to watching and waiting and staying out of trouble. "There," the boy whispered, pointing under the hood. "Do you hear it?" Michael bent down and listened. At first, he heard nothing but the distant sound of traffic from the highway. But then, yes, there it was. A tiny, soft sound, like a baby crying, but smaller, much smaller. "Oh my God," Michael breathed. "There really is something in there." The boy nodded seriously. "I told you, mister. I don't lie about important stuff." Michael stood up and looked at the boy with new respect. This kid, this stranger, had just saved a life. Maybe a tiny life, but a life all the same. And he had done it by shouting at a man he had never met before. A rich man who might have ignored him, or called security, or just driven away. "What's your name?" Michael asked. "Liam," the boy said shyly. "Liam Jackson." "Well, Liam Jackson," Michael said, extending his hand for a shake. "I'm Michael Weston, and I think you just became a hero." Liam's eyes went wide. "A hero? Me? You?" Michael said firmly. "You saved a life today. That makes you a hero in my book." For the first time since he had started running, Liam smiled. It was a big, bright smile that made his whole face light up. And for the first time in months, Michael felt something warm and good spread through his chest. He had no idea that this moment, this one simple moment in a parking lot, was about to change everything. Michael's hands trembled as he reached for the hood latch. The tiny crying sound was getting louder now, more desperate. Whatever was under there was scared. Really scared. "Be careful, mister," Liam whispered, standing close beside him. "Sometimes animals bite when they're afraid." Michael nodded and slowly lifted the hood. The evening light spilled into the engine compartment, and both of them leaned forward to look. There, curled up in a tiny ball next to a warm engine block, was the smallest kitten Michael had ever seen. It was gray with white patches, no bigger than his fist. Its eyes were still closed, which meant it was just a baby. A very young baby. "Oh no," Liam breathed. "It's so little." The kitten was shaking all over. It opened its tiny pink mouth and let out another weak cry. It sounded like it was calling for its mama, but there was no mama cat anywhere to be seen. "How did it get in there?" Michael asked, his voice soft with wonder. Liam looked around the parking lot. "Probably crawled up from underneath when you were parked somewhere else. Maybe at lunch? Kittens look for warm, safe places. But this isn't safe anymore." Michael could see what Liam meant. The kitten was sitting right next to the fan belt. If Michael had started the car, the engine would have roared to life. The fan would have started spinning. And the tiny kitten would have been... Michael pushed that thought away quickly. "We have to get out of there." "But how?" Liam asked, frowning. "It's wedged in pretty tight. And if we scare it, it might crawl deeper into the engine." Michael studied the problem. The kitten was tucked between two engine parts, just out of easy reach. One wrong move could push it further in, where they might never be able to get out. "I have an idea," Liam said suddenly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of what looked like a sandwich. "I was saving this for dinner, but..." He tore off a tiny piece of meat and held it near the engine. "Here, kitty. Come on." The kitten's little nose twitched. It smelled the food. Slowly, very slowly, it started to move toward Liam's hand. "That's it," Liam whispered. "Come on, little guy. We're not going to hurt you." Michael watched in amazement as the boy coaxed the frightened kitten closer and closer to the edge of the engine. Liam had a way with animals. He was patient and gentle, never rushing, never making sudden movements. "Almost there," Liam murmured. "Just a little more." The kitten stretched out its tiny neck, tried to reach the food. It was almost within grabbing distance now. "Now," Liam said softly. Michael reached in carefully and scooped up the kitten in both hands. It was so small and light, like holding a ball of warm fluff. The kitten mewed pitifully and tried to burrow into Michael's shirt. "Got it," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. He held the tiny creature against his chest, feeling its rapid heartbeat against his fingers. "We got it." Liam grinned from ear to ear. "We did it. We really did it." Michael looked down at the kitten in his hands. It had stopped crying now and was starting to purr, a sound so quiet it was barely there. But Michael could feel the tiny vibrations against his chest. "It's purring," he said in wonder. "That means it trusts you," Liam said proudly. "Cats only purr when they feel safe." Safe. Michael thought about that word. When was the last time he had felt truly safe? When was the last time anyone had trusted him just because he was kind? "What do we do now?" Michael asked. "I don't know anything about taking care of kittens." Liam looked thoughtful. "Well, it needs food and water and a warm place to sleep. And..." He paused, looking at Michael carefully. "It needs someone to love it, someone who won't give up on it." Michael felt something shift inside his chest. He looked down at the tiny gray and white face peeking out from his hands. The kitten's eyes were starting to open just a crack. They were blue, the color of summer sky. "I've never had a pet," Michael said quietly. "Never?" Liam asked, surprised. Michael shook his head. "My life is complicated. I work a lot. I travel. I don't have time for..." "For what?" Liam asked. Michael was quiet for a long moment. "For anything that needs me," he finally said. Liam looked at him with those wise, serious eyes. But maybe that's exactly what you need, mister. Something that needs you. The words hit Michael like a punch to the stomach. Something that needs you. When was the last time anything had truly needed him? His business partners needed his money. His employees needed their paychecks. His ex-wife had needed his success to feel important. But this tiny kitten, it didn't care about his money or his fancy car or his big house. It just needed someone to be kind, someone to be gentle, someone to care. You're right, Michael said softly. You're absolutely right. Liam's face broke into another one of those brilliant smiles. So you'll keep it? Michael nodded slowly. I'll keep it, but I don't know how to take care of a kitten this young. I'll need help. I can help. Liam said eagerly. I know lots about animals. I've been taking care of strays around my neighborhood for years. Where do you live? Michael asked. Liam's smile faded a little. Downtown, with my grandma. She works 2 jobs, so I'm on my own a lot. That's why I know so much about animals. I feed the ones that don't have homes. Michael felt his heart squeeze. This boy, this wonderful, caring boy, was out here taking care of stray animals while his grandmother worked 2 jobs just to survive. And Michael complained about being lonely in his big, empty house. Would you like to come home with me tonight? Michael asked suddenly. To help me get the kitten settled? Liam's eyes went wide. Really? You want me to? I'd be honored, Michael said, and he meant every word. As they walked toward Michael's car together, Liam carrying the food dish they bought at a nearby store, Michael cradling the sleeping kitten. Michael realized something amazing. For the first time in years, he wasn't going home to an empty house. He was going home to start a family. Michael's house had never felt so alive. It had been 3 weeks since that evening in the parking lot, and everything had changed. The kitten, now named Hope because Liam said she gave them hope, had grown stronger every day. Her blue eyes were wide open now, bright and curious about the world around her. But the biggest change wasn't Hope. It was the sound of laughter echoing through rooms that had been silent for too long. Hope, come back here. Liam's voice called from the living room, followed by the sound of tiny paws skittering across the hardwood floor. Michael looked up from his laptop, smiling. He was working from home more often now. How could he leave when there was so much life happening in his house? Hope came racing around the corner, a ball of gray and white fur moving so fast her little legs were a blur. Right behind her came Liam, crawling on his hands and knees, pretending to be a big, scary monster. I'm gonna get you. Liam growled playfully. I'm the tickle monster. Hope pounced on Michael's sock-covered foot, attacking his shoelaces with fierce determination. Her tiny claws tickled, making Michael laugh out loud. She's got you now, Mr. Michael, Liam said, sitting back on his heels. Hope never gives up when she's hunting shoelaces. Michael reached down and gently scooped up the kitten. She immediately started purring and rubbing her head against his chin. She's gotten so big, he marveled. Remember how tiny she was? She was smaller than my fist, Liam agreed. Now look at her. She's almost as big as both my fists together. It was true. Hope had tripled in size since that first night. Her gray coat was shiny and soft, and her white patches looked like little clouds. But more than that, she was happy. Really, truly happy. Just like Michael. Liam, Michael said, settling into his favorite chair with Hope curled up in his lap. Can I ask you something? Sure, Liam said, plopping down on the carpet beside the chair. Why were you in that parking lot that night? It's pretty far from your neighborhood. Liam was quiet for a moment, petting Hope's fur. I was looking for bottles and cans. He said, finally, the recycling center pays 5 cents each. I was trying to make enough money to buy my grandma a birthday present. Michael felt his chest tighten. What did you want to get her? Just some flowers, Liam sighed. The pretty ones from the grocery store. She loves flowers, but we can't usually afford them. I thought if I collected enough bottles. Michael's eyes stung with tears. He tried to hide. This boy, this incredible, caring boy, had been miles from home, searching through garbage just to buy his grandmother flowers. And instead of focusing on his mission, he had stopped to save a tiny kitten. "Did you ever get the flowers?" Michael asked softly. Liam shook his head. "Her birthday was the day after we found Hope. I spent all my bottle money on kitten food instead." He looked up at Michael with those wise eyes. "But it was worth it. Hope needed the food more than Grandma needed flowers." That's when Michael made a decision that surprised even him. "Liam," he said, "how would you like to have a job?" Liam's eyes went wide. "A job? But I'm only 8. "A special job," Michael explained. "Hope needs someone to take care of her while I'm at work. Someone who knows about animals. Someone who loves her. I'll pay you $20 a day." Liam's mouth fell open. $20? Every day? "Every day that you come help with Hope," Michael nodded. "You'd be her official caretaker. What do you think?" Liam jumped up so fast he startled Hope, who mewed in protest. "Are you serious?" "Really, really serious." "Really, really serious," Michael laughed. "But—" Liam's face scrunched up in worry. "What if I do something wrong? What if I mess up?" Michael reached out and put his hand on Liam's shoulder. "You save Hope's life," he said gently. "You've been taking care of her perfectly for 3 weeks. You know more about animals than anyone I've ever met. I trust you completely." Trust. There was that word again. Michael was learning so much about trust lately. He trusted Liam with Hope. He trusted Liam in his house, around his things. But more than that, he trusted Liam with his heart. Because somewhere along the way, Michael had started to love this boy like family. "I have to ask my grandma first," Liam said seriously. "She always said I should never take anything from strangers without asking her." "Of course," Michael agreed. "Why don't we call her right now?" 20 minutes later, after a long phone conversation with Liam's grandmother, everything was settled. Mrs. Jackson was grateful beyond words that her grandson had found such a kind friend. She gave permission for Liam to spend his days at Michael's house, caring for Hope. "She wants to meet you," Liam said after hanging up the phone. "She says anyone who's kind to me is welcome in our family." Family. The word made Michael's heart skip a beat. That evening, as Michael tucked Hope into her little bed and said goodnight to Liam, he realized something amazing. For the first time in 2 years since his divorce, since his world had fallen apart, he was excited about tomorrow. He was excited to wake up and hear Liam's voice calling for Hope. He was excited to see what new game they would invent. He was excited to watch Hope discover something new about the world. He was excited to be needed. As he turned off the lights and headed to his own room, Michael paused in the hallway. There, on his refrigerator, was a drawing Liam had made that afternoon. It showed 3 figures: a tall man in a business suit, a small boy with a big smile, and a tiny gray and white kitten. At the bottom, in Liam's careful handwriting, were the words, "My new family." Michael touched the drawing gently, his eyes filling with happy tears. 3 weeks ago, he had been a lonely man walking to his car at the end of another empty day. Tonight, he was a father, a friend, and a hero to a tiny kitten who trusted him completely. All because a brave little boy had shouted, "Don't get in the car!" The best things in life, Michael was learning, came from the most unexpected places. 6 months later, Michael stood in the same parking lot where it all began. But this time, he wasn't alone. "Come on, Hope," Liam called, holding a bright red leash. "Time for your walk." Hope had grown into a beautiful young cat, her gray and white fur shining in the afternoon sun. She walked proudly beside Liam, her tail held high like a flag. She had learned to love car rides and adventures, but she still remembered to stay away from engines. "She's getting so big," said a familiar voice behind them. Michael turned to see his son, David, walking toward them with a big smile. David was 12 years old, and for the longest time, Michael had struggled to connect with him after the divorce. Their visits had been awkward and quiet, filled with expensive toys and fancy restaurants that never quite filled the empty spaces between them. But everything changed when David met Liam and Hope. "Dad, can we go to the park now?" David asked, reaching down to pet Hope. "Liam promised to teach me how to train her to do tricks." "I know lots of tricks," Liam said proudly. Hope can stay, come when called, and she's learning to play fetch like a dog. Michael watched his two boys, because that's what they were now, both of them as boys, and felt his heart overflow with happiness. David came to visit every weekend now, and he always asked when Liam would be there too. The three of them had become an unlikely but perfect team. Before we go to the park, Michael said, I have something important to tell you both. Liam and David looked at him curiously. Hope sat down and tilted her head, as if she was listening too. I've been thinking a lot about that night 6 months ago, Michael began, about what happened in this parking lot, and I realized something important. He knelt down so he was at eye level with both boys. Sometimes the most important voices in the world are the smallest ones. Liam, when you shouted don't get in the car, you didn't just save Hope's life. You saved mine too. Liam's eyes went wide. I saved your life? Michael nodded. Before that night, I was living, but I wasn't really alive. I had money and success, but I didn't have what mattered most. I didn't have love. I didn't have family. I didn't have purpose. He looked at David, and I wasn't being the father you deserved. I thought giving you expensive things would make up for not giving you my time and attention. David stepped closer to his dad. But now you do give me your time. We play games and tell stories and take care of Hope together. That's right, Michael said, pulling both boys into a hug. Because Liam taught me something very important. He taught me that the best things in life aren't things at all. They're moments. They're connections. They're the feeling you get when someone needs you and trusts you. Hope purred loudly and rubbed against all three of them, as if she understood every word. I learned something too, Liam said quietly. I learned that families don't have to look the same. They don't have to be the same color or come from the same place. Families are people who love each other and take care of each other. Michael felt tears of joy rolling down his cheeks. That's exactly right, Liam. That's exactly right. They stood there in the parking lot, holding each other tight. A successful businessman, a wise 8-year-old boy, a curious 12-year-old, and one very special cat who had brought them all together. You know what the best part is? David said suddenly. What? Michael and Liam asked together. Now, when people ask me about my family, I get to tell them about my dad, my brother Liam, and our cat Hope. And I get to tell them the coolest story about how we all found each other. Brother. David had called Liam his brother. Michael saw Liam's face light up with pure joy. And I get to tell people about my dad Michael and my brother David, Liam said, his voice full of pride, and about how we're all heroes because we saved Hope together. As they walked toward the park, Hope trotting happily between them, Michael thought about how much his life had changed. His house was no longer quiet and empty. It was full of laughter and games and the sound of running feet. His weekends weren't spent alone anymore. They were spent building blanket forts and teaching Hope new tricks and listening to the boys' dreams and worries. He had also started a scholarship fund for kids like Liam, children who were wise beyond their years, who cared for others even when they had so little themselves. Mrs. Jackson had become like a mother to him, cooking Sunday dinners and giving him advice about raising boys. His whole world had expanded in the most beautiful way. That evening, as they sat on Michael's back porch watching Hope chase fireflies in the garden, Liam asked a question that made Michael's heart sing. Mr. Michael, do you think Hope remembers that night? Do you think she knows we saved her? Michael looked at Hope, who was now sitting contentedly in David's lap, purring like a tiny motor. I think she knows, he said softly. But more than that, I think she knows she saved us too. How did she save us? David asked. She gave us a reason to become a family, Michael explained. Sometimes the universe sends us exactly what we need, exactly when we need it, even if it comes in a very small, furry package. Liam giggled. Or sometimes it comes from a kid shouting in a parking lot. Especially then, Michael agreed, ruffling Liam's hair. As the stars came out and the boys dozed off on the porch swing, Michael thought about the moral of their story. Life's greatest treasures often come disguised as problems or interruptions. A shouting child who stops you from starting your car. A tiny kitten who turns your organized life upside down. A lonely boy who teaches you what family really means. The secret was learning to listen, to really listen, not just to the big, important voices, but to the small ones too, the ones that might save your life if you're brave enough to pay attention. Michael smiled as he carried his sleeping boys inside, hope following close behind. Tomorrow would bring new adventures, new challenges, new moments of joy and discovery. And it all started with 4 simple words. Don't get in the car. The moral of the story. Sometimes the most important voices are the smallest ones. When we take time to listen to children, to help those in need, and to show kindness to all living creatures, we don't just change their lives, we transform our own. Real family isn't about blood or money or having the same last name. It's about love, care, and choosing to be there for each other. The greatest treasures in life often come disguised as interruptions, and the most meaningful moments happen when we're brave enough to stop, listen, and open our hearts to unexpected connections. Thank you for watching this heartwarming story. If this tale of unexpected friendship, kindness, and finding family in the most surprising places touched your heart, please don't forget to like this story. Share it with friends and family who believe in the power of compassion. Comment below with your own stories of unexpected kindness. And subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us what truly matters in life. Remember, you never know when your voice might be exactly what someone needs to hear. Keep listening, keep caring, and keep believing in the magic of human connection.